For clients to get the most out of a workout, you need to tailor programs to meet their unique body types, needs, and goals. Stop Pilates Master Instructor Trainer PJ O'Clair will now share with you some great exercise modifications and cueing tips that will help you develop safe and effective workouts for your clients. Ready, PJ?
Yes, thank you, Moira. Okay, let's get started. Wayne, if you'd come over and show properly how to get on the carriage for the footwork, that would be great. So you sit down, just roll off onto the side, and then gently swing your legs around. That's the proper positioning for getting onto the carriage. Okay, and the arms by your side. And what we're going to talk about here is the footwork. I'm going to choose a couple of the different variations for us to review. But one of the most important points that I'd like to make first off is that we're looking at the femur and the alignment of the femur. So if I ask him to go to parallel, then I'm looking at the femur when I'm talking about the parallel alignment. And then from there, I'll look at the knee and the ankle. So oftentimes what I'll do is in the very beginning, I'll actually ask my clients to lengthen the legs up, and then I'll look at, so go ahead and do that for me, Wayne. I'll actually look at the alignment of the knee to see if when the legs are actually touching and the femurs are in parallel, if the ankles touch. Many times when the legs are parallel, the femurs, the ankles won't touch. So then if I were to put the feet on the foot bar and I ask them to bring their feet together, and the ankles are touching, the femurs may actually not be parallel any longer. So it's more important that I actually separate the feet at that point just a little bit. In Wayne's case, that's not the situation, but for your client, it may be, and you want to be aware of that. Okay, so the first position that we're going to be showing is actually wrap the toes over the bar. So the legs are together. Now, again, if the legs are together and the client's not able to maintain neutral alignment through the pelvis, you may actually separate them just a bit. Otherwise, keep them together. Abducted is the position. So we're looking at the feet next. And with the feet, I'd like the bar to be, the ball of the foot to be just on the bar so that the toes can wrap over using the muscles of the arches of the foot. And that will help to engage that whole lower kinetic chain of the ankle, the knee, and the hip. So what I'd like you to do, Wayne, is just show going back and forth. Go ahead and push the carriage out on the exhale, and then bring it back in. His ankles are dorsiflexed at the very beginning, and they maintain that position the entire time so that there's a good stretch through the soleus when he's bringing his body back in. He's using the essential breath variation, which is actually to exhale on the way out. That's going to enable him to keep neutral through the pelvis and really to activate the abdominals to help him to do that. Inhale, just do a couple more like that, exhaling, pressing back. Beautiful. And last time, press back. Good, and bring it back in. The next alignment I'd like to show would be heels on the bar. So go ahead and place your heels up on the bar. Now, many times when the client does this exercise, what happens to this whole forefoot is it actually travels with the legs. So show that for me, Wayne, if you would. See how the foot is actually leaving? If it were on the floor, it would be leaving the floor. Okay, so thinking about this as like a squat, only lying down, we would want to make sure that we keep those feet in line with the heel. So there's a couple of ways in which I can help the person to understand how to do that. I can actually come behind here and stand and place my hands just here and say, now, don't push into my arms with your feet, but actually press through your heels still. Go ahead and press back, but keep your toes on my arms. Now the full range of motion is occurring through the ankle joint. Another way you might do that would be to use one of the cushions. So I'll take this cushion here, and I can actually place the cushion there and have them place their toes against the cushion and have them push out through the heels. Again, this is allowing the ankle to go through the proper range of motion and getting that soleus stretched. Great. And one more. Very nice. Now, if the client has a bowed leg and the femurs, when they push out, go ahead and push out for me, open up, okay, and they're not together, it's okay that that happens as long as the femur's maintaining the parallel alignment. You don't want to force the knees to stay together because they're going to actually immediately rotate. The femurs will immediately rotate in order to do that. So come on back for a moment. So we would always then place perhaps a spacer, and I'll show you a spacer that we can use. We've got a couple of various sizes. So I'll use this one here. Depends really on how much space there is. Go ahead and press back, and he's just going to use that. Again, you're going to have to watch to be sure, continue please, to move, that the person isn't actually immediately rotating or changing their alignment. You're just really looking at the alignment. Go ahead and do one more like that. Perfect, and he's keeping the feet just where I'd like them to be. So using spacers is really beneficial. Okay, second position. I'd like to talk about that a little bit. Open up your feet hip distance apart. Now, again, when you have the femurs hip distance apart, there isn't as much energy, and they're going to have to think about the energy of the adductors and hold their legs in space. If you don't want to have to cue that as an instructor, or perhaps you're teaching a group and there's many things to be cueing other than legs, you can actually just have the class or the client place a spacer that's making them stay hip distance apart right between the inner thighs. So go ahead and do that. Press back a few times. Good. So they're just holding that spacer there, giving them the activation that they need to maintain that femur alignment. Great, that looks perfect. The other way in which you can modify here, which is nice too, is, let me take that one, is with the flex band. You could actually take the flex band, and this would give a little bit more emphasis on the abductors as opposed to the adductors. And you could just have them tie it, around. And now I'm just going to put it in a little bow so I don't knot it too tightly and it can come off. And now go ahead and press out. This is going to give just an isometric contraction through the abductors to maintain that alignment again through the femur. It's a really great way to keep those muscles working while doing the second position. And just do one more like that. Excellent. And bring it back. Beautiful. I'll take that, and we'll take that out of there. All right. The next exercise I'd like to review with you would be the 100. So let me take one of the springs off. And you can take these straps in your hands. Now, in this position here, Wayne has his head down. We could keep the head down and do the exercise. There's an increased resistance doing it here as opposed to doing it on the mat. So keeping the head down may not be a bad option. Go ahead and imprint your spine here and bring the legs to tabletop. Inhale, exhale, flex the entire upper body off the mat, reaching the arms out strong. Go ahead and just do a few of those, Wayne. Inhaling. The nice thing about using the reformer for the 100 is you can see if the carriage is moving. If the carriage starts to move, go ahead and let it move a little bit, Wayne. It means that they're not in control of one piece, whether that be, you can stop, whether that be the shoulder girdle or maybe the abdominals. You could cue them to work a little bit more into the shoulder girdle. Exhale and then release back down. Or maybe you just do the head down. So let's try that. Inhale. Exhale, just reach the arms out, maintain your imprint, and inhale, pumping the arms. So you can then minimize that movement in the carriage by keeping the head down, focusing on the shoulder girdle. You may want to add a spacer between the inner thighs, again, just to help activate the abdominals. Beautiful, and continue. Now, inhale to stay there for a moment. Exhale and flex your upper body, Wayne. Now we're going to show a bend and stretch of the legs. So inhale with the legs in. And then as you exhale, send the legs out on the diagonal. Again, this is a nice place to keep that pad between the inner thighs. Inhale, exhale, and then reach out. Again, he's not moving the carriage. He's really keeping it nice and still. Inhale, exhale, and reaching out using those abdominals. That's it. And then inhale, bring them in, and we won't make you do 100. Exhale and release there. Perfect. All right. The next exercise is putting the feet in the straps for the bend and stretch. So you want to transition properly, so both feet will go onto the bar and you'll push yourself back a little bit. Take one foot and place it into the strap, and then hold that there, and then lift the other foot and place that into the strap. He's going to go with parallel alignment to start. This is a really wonderful place to teach the concept of imprint and then back to neutral. So right here, I don't want him to be, again, past that 90-degree angle, so go ahead and let your legs come past the 90 degree, because that's going to be gravity flattening his back onto the carriage. He's not using his abdominals. Now push back out to that 90-degree alignment, so we want to keep that 90-degree alignment right here to start with. And then place your hands just here at your hips, Wayne, in your abdominal area. I want you to imprint your spine as you just gently start to press your feet away, just a small range of motion here. Go ahead and press into my hand with your feet. Beautiful. Inhale and come back in again. So just keep a really small range of motion. Exhale, imprint small range right there. So you're focusing on the concept of imprinting the spine for support as the legs get further away. Continue with that. Inhale, imprinting and reaching out. Good. Now you can start to increase the range of motion now that I know you're doing that well, and then reach out. Good. And as you continue, you can start to plantar flex the ankles as you push out. That's nice. Inhale, bringing them back in. And another thing that I'm looking for here is that when he brings his knees back in, he's not letting his tailbone curl up off the mat, and he's going into too much of an imprint of the spine. What I want you to do is think about releasing a little bit back toward neutral as the knees start to come in, and then pressing the carriage out, imprinting the spine. 2 more like that. Inhale, really watching that alignment and the control factor of the carriage. 1 more time, inhale. Exhale, and then press them straight out. Now for the short spine, but first off, always you would put the headrest down. You don't want to bring the hips up off of the carriage when you have your head when your cervical spine's in flexion, when your head is elevated up like that. So be sure that you remember that. It's very important. So what I'd like to focus on here is not necessarily the exercise, but what we're looking for and things that we may need to correct on people when they are doing the exercise. So go ahead, Wayne, and inhale to hinge the legs towards you. Right here, stay there for just a moment. Many times they curl off too quickly by lifting the tailbone. We want to actually anchor the tailbone to get that nice hamstring stretch, and then exhale, start to imprint and send the legs up. So go ahead and do that, imprint, lifting those legs, using that control. Closing the carriage when you get there, that's it. Now inhale, rotate your legs and bend the knees. Now, many times in this position, the knees open too far and they collapse through the spine like this. So be sure you squeeze the heels and keep energy in the body as you're up there. Now, exhale, start to roll down through the spine. That's it. And then inhale with your hamstrings, pull the heels to the buttocks. Exhale, press the carriage away. Nice job. Inhale to parallel and hinge the legs towards you, maintaining that anchor there through the tailbone. Now exhale, imprint the spine to send the legs up into the long diagonal. Now when you get up there without collapsing, you rotate the femurs and then you bend the knees. Keep the heels active. Exhale, that will help keep the hamstrings and glutes engaged as you start to roll down and have that control factor. Inhale, pull your heels with your hamstrings. Exhale and press out. Nice job. So you're seeing what I'm looking for here. I'm walking through the pattern of movement. We'll do one more. Inhale to parallel and hinge, maintaining as much as possible that neutral before you imprint to send the legs up. It's looking really nice. And then once you get to the top, inhale, rotate the femurs and bend the knees. Nice, without collapsing the knees over the chest. Exhale, roll down. Now Wayne's following my cues, so he's sort of doing it slow and with me. But what I'd like you to teach people is the fluidity of the pattern. So go ahead and don't wait for my cues now. Inhale, parallel and hinge. Exhale, imprinting the spine to send the legs up. Inhale, laterally rotate and bend. Exhale, roll through the spine. Inhale, pull with the heels. Exhale, press out. Great. So you really want to keep that pattern nice and fluid. Okay, so we're going to take the feet out of the straps. You can just bend your knees. We'll take one foot at a time off, and then that foot will go onto the foot bar. There, that's it. And then pull the carriage back in. Okay, for the next exercise is the back rowing preps. Wayne, you can roll over to the side to come up. Now, because the back rowing preps start in a sitting position, if the client is again tight in the hips or in the hamstrings, you may have to elevate the hips on the carriage. So I'm going to use the platform extender. It's a really versatile piece. You just place it right here. And we'll place it flush against the back edge of the carriage here. Take one spring off, and then come around and you're going to sit just a sideways hands distance from the back so that when you do any of the rolling back type exercises, you've got room for yourself to go back. That looks great. So we're looking at a nice neutral alignment through the spine, so be sure that you've obtained that and that this is the proper modification for that. And take the straps. Now, additionally, you could actually shorten the straps if you found, and they shorten just by putting the D-ring around. Wayne doesn't need them to be shortened, but if the client had a longer arm and they weren't able to have the proper range of motion to start, then you could actually adjust the straps. They're easily adjustable. In this case, we're fine. Everything looks good. He's in that nice neutral alignment. And then go ahead and just press straight back with the arms. Inhale. So we're working the extensor muscles. We wouldn't want the spine to be in anything but neutral to do that. So if you were sitting in a slouched position, show a little bit what I mean. Yeah, that flex spine position like that, then he's not going to get the benefit of working the erector muscles. Okay, the erector spine, nice. So come on right back up again. The other thing I would like to address here is many times clients will hold the straps with their fingertips and not the meaty part of the palm of the hand. And that will take away from the muscular emphasis of the shoulder girdle. So be sure you cue them to make sure the whole hand is in there. The thumb is still on the outside, but they're actually getting that feedback through the shoulder girdle. Go ahead and do that a couple of times, pressing through. Looks nice. And exhale, pressing straight through. Good, nice collarbone width. Everything there is looking beautiful. Okay, and now the last one, just pressing straight back. Beautiful. You can bring those forward. Now I'd like to just emphasize here the rolling back for the round back prep. So bring your hands in front of you there. Inhale, and he's going to do it properly first, okay, so that there's a pelvic femoral rhythm that occurs here where the pelvis actually rotates back off of a fixed femur. So inhale to prepare. Exhale, rock the pelvis away from the femur. Inhale to stay. And now exhale, use the control with your abdominals to round the spine going all the way forward, not the momentum of the carriage. And then inhale to articulate to come all the way back right again. Exhale, let's do it again that same way. Exhale, rock the pelvis under you. Feel that anchoring of the sacrum toward the platform. Inhale to stay. Now again, with control, start your breath and start to roll forward using that symmetry right and left. Inhale, articulate the spine to come all the way back up. Oftentimes, they will not do the proper rolling back action. They won't really emphasize that pelvic femoral rhythm, and they'll pull too much with the arms. So if Wayne would mind showing that one, where he's just going to pull back and is not really rocking back, a little bit flexed through the spine still, but not really the lumbar, and then bring it forward. We don't want him to do too many of those wrong ones because it can be stressful on the spine. But I did want you to see that and how common it is that people will pull back using the arms and not necessarily rocking the pelvis back. So let's show one more good one for good measure. Inhale to stay. Exhale, just softening at the chest as the spine flexes and you rock back, bringing those arms in. Good. Inhale to stay. Now really focus on both equal right and left side as you round your spine coming forward. And those are really nice cues to create that symmetry and not pulling one side or the other. Excellent. I'll take those. Okay, you can stand up and we'll take the platform away. We're going to review now the side twist sitting. You could, again, if the client were tight, have them sit up on a platform, but in this case, we're going to be reviewing more about the rotation and less about the sitting. I'll place that down. So I'm going to grab a fitness circle, and would you mind changing that spring to a half, please? What I love about using the fitness circle is, go ahead, Wayne, you can sit here and just face outward like that, sitting cross-legged. And we'll take the strap and we'll place the strap just over the circle like this. And then he'll put it just at the chest. It'll already be rotated to start. And then you do have to hold the strap with the circle. Now, it's not pressure into the sternum, into the chest here. It's just there for guidance. The circle is there to support you and to isolate more through the rotation rather than thinking about pulling with the arms. So inhale to prepare, exhale, and just rotate the spine. Inhale to bring it back. I also went to a half spring to really focus on the motion that's happening, not on the strengthening necessarily. Go ahead and continue, please. Just on the mobility of it. So we're really working on the mobilizing factor here as opposed to the strengthening factor. And then just sit back a little bit further through your chest and shoulders. That's it. Now he's in a perfect alignment right here. Many times it's hard to know if your chest and your shoulders and your hips are all stacked up. So you may have to cue that often to have the person be sure they're sitting back so they're in that alignment. Inhale. So again, this is a guidance thing. The circle is meant to just guide you through the space that you're traveling in, and it keeps the arms perfectly in control. It's great prep. And then that's great right there. I'll take that. Okay, so I'll just place this down. The exercise next that we're going to review is the stomach massage. I'm going to take these straps off and I'm going to get a sticky mat. The gripper mats, what they're really good for is to ensure that you don't slide back and forth. There's no support really for you here with your pelvis. You'd be sitting on here and the legs are up here. And there's not a lot of support, so if you have a certain material of pant that may slide on the carriage, this really helps. The gripper mat helps you to enable not having that slippage occur. Okay, so come on over and sit here. The legs are going to be, the feet are going to be up onto the foot bar in that first position turn out. So let's show the full exercise first, just the position. You can see the position of the full exercise. And what's happening when we do this exercise, go ahead and show a couple of these, Wayne, the full exercise, going back and lowering and then bringing it back in. So you can see there's a coordinated pattern occurring here. This is a 2-breath pattern, and he's inhaling, lowering the heels, lifting them, and bringing that back in, and just do that one more time. And then exhale, bring it back in. So because it's a 2-breath pattern, many times what I'll do is revert down to a 4-breath pattern, or I'll just eliminate the lowering, the lifting of the heels and keep it very simple and just go ahead and go back and forth. Inhale, push back, and then exhale, drag the carriage back in. So I may just take the lower and lift right out of it. Go ahead and do that again. Inhale, exhale, bring it back, or I may go to a 4-breath pattern. Inhale, push back, exhale, lower the heels. Inhale, lift the heels, exhale, and bring it all the way back in. Do it one more time like that. So you can see where you can use all these different varieties of breath patterns to help enable the person to be more successful, and you can rest there. The stomach massage does have a prep of just a very beginning prep. So go ahead and place your feet now wider on the bar, and the hands will actually go in the middle. Now, what we do this exercise for is to push the carriage back, but still having the deepening of the contraction of the abdominals, and not so much like a hamstring stretch. They're not going back to get a stretch. So it's small range of motion, it's a real control factor. So go ahead and press the carriage back on the exhale. Just a gentle pressing back on the exhale. That's it. So it's minimal movement. Inhale, coming back in. And what I'm tactile cueing here is that he gets into the obliques a little bit to press the carriage back. Good. So it is the legs, yes, but you want to have that deepening of that contraction through the abdominals. The prep is a really great place to teach how the carriage moves while you're deepening your connection here. Okay, great. You can relax. You can actually step all the way off. The long box is a piece of equipment that we're going to put right on in the long position here. I'm going to go grab it. The foot bar will go down. Thank you very much. There's a way to get onto the box. If you were to try to kneel, you would never be able to lie down on it. So we always teach that position of getting on the box. So why don't you come from back here, Wayne, and show how to get on the box. You place the hand, and then the thigh just rests, and then you scoot up over the box like that. And the alignment of the spine is challenged by not having support for the legs any longer. So that can be quite challenging for people. So if I were to have him bring his legs together and he was not able to keep that neutral alignment, I may actually just have him open the legs a little bit, abduct them, or I could actually put a spacer in between. This may ensure, by putting this spacer right here, that he keeps those adductors active throughout the exercise. The other thing I also see here is the toes come too high. So if you wouldn't mind, Wayne, just sort of lift your legs. This is a spinal extension right here because his feet are higher and he's in too much extension. So be sure you're looking at the length of the legs reaching out long, and again, bring them back up again, not high up like that. We're not going into this big hip extension here. It's a long, long line, so go ahead and lower them back down to that. Sure, it's not very comfortable. You could also place the pad underneath the hip bones here. We could take a rubber pad. I won't show that now, but I will show you what I mean when he comes off. All right? Now I'm going to look at the upper spine. It's meant to be flexed over the box, but not collapsed. So if you wouldn't mind showing what I mean by collapsed, this is a collapsed position. He's completely lengthened. There's no muscle control. He's not actually isometrically holding his spine there. So go ahead and bring that activity back into the spine again. Now I can see his extensor muscles working. Yes, they're lengthened, but they're also working to hold the body weight up. We're going to take the straps and we're going to do the exercise. So here you can take a hold of those ropes. You can walk up as far up on the ropes as is necessary. And I'm just going to put the D-ring in like that. There we go. Okay, nice long neutral spine here, flex spine here. And he's going to just go through a 4-breath pattern. Inhale, come through your dart position using those nice mid-back muscles. And then exhale, bring the hands all the way up to the hips, opening up the chest and shoulders. Inhale, let the arms go down again without collapsing. And then exhale, maintain that control, bringing it back. So it truly is the extensor muscles of the spine that are bringing your head and shoulders up. So you're reaching long through the ears. Inhale, start to pull down into that like plank position, and then exhale, bring it all the way through. Inhale, going back out to neutral, and then exhale, lowering down. We do that in the 4-breath pattern in order to enable us to come in through those positions. So show it one more time. Inhale into that nice neutral, then extension, and then through the neutral again, and then all the way back down. So there are some adjustments that I'd like to show you. So if Wayne, you'd come over and sit right on here. We'll talk about the different features and how you can adjust to accommodate for all different body types. If he were shorter, I may have to bring the carriage stopper, I may have to bring the gear bar up one, and I may have to shorten the strap. So these are ways in which you can bring the carriage closer in order to gain that goal that we're looking for. And if in the opposite of that, if the legs are longer and you needed to bring the person back, then you would actually move the carriage stopper, move the gear bar back, or adjust the strap. So the ways in which you can adjust would be the strap, the carriage stopper, and the gear bar. So what the ideal alignment is go ahead and place your feet in here, Wayne, is that we really are looking for the ankles to be supported right here at the front of the carriage, the knees to be slightly bent, not extended, so show pulling back if you would, just pull back. A lot of times you see this and then the person's using their hip flexors to hold on to the strap. So go ahead and scoot forward a little bit and put those ankles back into that alignment. And then a neutral spine, and then a sideways hands distance. Just that little bit of space right there for when we do any of the round back type exercises where you need that support for the sacrum. So again, just to review, we're looking at The strap placement here at the foot, the ankle right here at the front of the carriage, slight knee bend, and then a little bit of a space behind. So that's our setup, and the ways to adjust would be through your strap or through your carriage stopper and your gear bar. Okay, so this is our alignment that we're looking for, and I'm gonna cue you through one exercise here, and that's the straight back, okay? So I will hold the bar, place the arms straight up. So what I'm looking for here is all of the alignment that we worked on staying the same, and he's just going to hinge from his hip straight back. Inhale to prepare, exhale and just hinge, gazing forward, using those abdominal muscles to control the exercise. Inhale to stay, exhale, come right back on top again. So nothing's moving down in the lower body, we're merely just hinging from the hip. Inhale to prepare. The good cue here would be to wrap the abdominals like a corset as you hinge back and not allowing those ribs to pop out, which is fine right here, he's not. Inhale to stay, exhale. If he were to gaze upward, he may actually lift the ribs. That's something we want to avoid, so go ahead and show that. Inhale. So just a slight gaze upward can then lift the rib cage, bringing you into extension, which is not what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to keep the spine nice and straight and work in neutral and bring it all the way back up again. Nice job. So I'll take that, place it back down. Another modification would be the tree. So go ahead and inhale and bring your knee in toward you. And then exhale. Ideally, we would look to straighten the leg out, right? Go ahead and work on straightening the leg. So that's perfect. Do 3 of those. We get a little bit of a stretch through the hamstring. And he's working on getting that nice connection through the leg here. Inhale, bend. Good. Exhale, and one more time, reaching up. Now inhale, walk up the leg, and then exhale, start to roll down. If he were to bring his legs straight, it might be too much tension, so we may have him bend his knee right there is good. That's a lot more comfortable for many people. Inhale to stay, that long lever, exhale, roll forward. That long lever may create tension and a torque through the spine. So always be sure to bend the knee when the client starts to roll back and minimize the range of motion, that's all, so that your client's not actually torquing to one side, the pull of that leg pulling you up. Okay, great, you can place that down. Okay, you can step off. All right, so the next one is the elephant. I'm going to take away the short box. And we'll put the foot bar up all the way to the upright position. Make sure it's secure. And then I'm going to have Wayne step on and show how to get on properly, Wayne, how you put your hand on and make sure that you're secure, and then place one foot at a time up onto the carriage. And ideally, you bring the heels back in line with the shoulder rests, but if the client's body is either shorter or longer or not able to keep the hip and the knee and the ankle in alignment, you may actually have him walk up a little bit, bringing the heels more underneath the hips. This way, you're going to be able to activate the glutes and hamstrings more efficiently, and you're going to get the workout that you need to be getting for the goal of the exercise. The other issue that we look at here is the shoulders. We want to be sure that they're not reaching for the foot bar. So if he's back here, go ahead and step back where you were before, and he's reaching rather than actually in position, then you would also walk them forward. You could even change the carriage to go to position number 1 if the client had a little bit shorter of a torso or maybe a little bit more tense through the upper back. Okay, so bring your feet right to where you're most comfortable and where you can activate properly. So I'm going to have him do the exercise a few times. Inhale, pushing back. Exhale and drawing in. The other thing I look at here are the elbows. I want to be sure that they're just sort of wrapped inward so that he's got really good control of his shoulder girdle muscles, helping to maintain that nice stability and alignment. Inhaling and exhaling. Another way of cueing this would be to really press into the carriage with the heels and then drag the carriage back in underneath you using the abdominals. Nice. Let's just show one other modification, Wayne, which would be a high half toe position up against the shoulder rests. Say the client had tight calf muscles or hamstrings and they were unable to have their feet flat without torquing too much or rounding too much through the spine, then you could bring them here, which would take the stretch off of the Achilles and the calf. Go ahead and do the same exercise, pushing back through the heels and then dragging the carriage back in. Inhale, exhale, pull it right back in, being sure that they're not rolling, which he's not, but being sure that there's no rolling through the ankles in the exercise, that you're really maintaining nice solid contact through the heel. And then relax there. Okay, you can just come down onto your knees for knee stretches. All right, so just stay in a straight back for now. In fact, I'll show this one in the straight back. The setup that I'm looking for is not a collapsed position, so sit a little further back and sort of collapse there. There's no activity happening in the legs here. There's no action. He's not going to be able to fire through his glutes and hamstrings if he's sitting back on the heels. So be sure that they're in a lifted position. And one way to show that they're in the proper position to start is if he can't lift his hands, go ahead and lift your hands off the carriage, then without seeming like he's going to fall forward, then you know that they're too far. So show what it looks like to be too far forward. You see this position here? There's no way right now that he could lift his hands. Okay, so that's a good way of you just getting a setup, especially in a group environment where you don't have that, you're not right there to be able to help the client as much. You're talking to a lot more people at one time. So go ahead and sit back. Now, I use this tactile cue that I'll sometimes come over and place one hand here and then my other hand here and say it's like a bracing action. So I'm going to place my hand here, bracing, giving him a support, okay, bracing him so that he understands the feeling of being in control of the upper body while the lower body moves. Go ahead and do that exercise. Inhale, push back, exhale, drag it in. That's it. 2. Now I just do that enough until I felt he had it, and then I may come away. Beautiful. Now we want to watch those elbows a little bit, and so that make sure that they come wrapped inward and not too far outward. That's another way in which they'll lose control of the shoulder girdle. And then you can relax for a minute there. I could decrease the springs if I found that there wasn't enough energy of the carriage coming in, or perhaps they were not able to push far back enough to bring the carriage in. Or I could just talk about the dynamic nature of the exercise. So go ahead and let's go into now the full exercise once again, Wayne, with that nice proper elbow position, shoulder girdle. Inhale, push back through the heels. Exhale, pull it in. Now, what happens many times is if they don't have the power to push back with the 2 springs, and then they can't bring it in properly, then I would change it to 1.5. Right now he's doing fine, but watch what happens when he just sort of flattens out the exercise. No more dynamic nature here, so I want to be sure that I cue that. He starts to lose the spinal alignment. So be sure, and you can relax for a minute, Wayne, that you either adjust the carriage and the resistance, or you really cue for them to push through the heels, drag the carriage back in. Okay? Great. We're going to kick it down now for the hip rolls. So again, this is where the hips are going to come up, so you do want to be sure that the headrest is down. And one thing that we talked about before in some of our work with cueing and modification is that with rounded shoulders or with spines not in neutral, many times with a forward head, show what a forward head round shoulder looks like, Wayne. What will happen to the spine here? What happens is if he's rounded forward and you're having the headrest down, you can relax, and the headrest is down, you wouldn't want to bring the headrest up because we know we don't want the cervical spine to be an extension when the hips come up. You would just add pads underneath. So you could take a pad like this and place it right underneath the head, and that would bring it more into a neutral alignment, and then you can bring the hips up. So now the cervical spine is in neutral. Actually, Wayne doesn't need it, so I'm going to take it out, and we're going to go right into the hip rolls. So what I'd like you to do is the feet are hip distance apart. Inhale to prepare, and you're going to go right into the exercise. Imprint the spine, activate the buttocks muscles, and lift the hips up. That's it, perfect. Now inhale to stay, exhale to roll back down, use that symmetry through the core, and then release all the way back to neutral. So he's doing this fine. Go ahead and do it again, Wayne, imprinting the spine. He's actually not moving the carriage when he comes up. It's really easy to do that, but he's in control of it. So what we want to focus on, go ahead and bring it back down, exhale, is that the client's using the proper muscles, the imprint with the abdominals, and then the glute muscles to activate, to lift the hips. So show how it would look, Wayne, if you were to actually push into the foot bar too much. Inhale to prepare, exhale, imprint. So you can see the carriage is moving. Inhale to stay, exhale to roll back down. So that would mean to me that he's not using his abdominals enough or his gluteus enough to lift his hips up. So let's try that again. Inhale, do it properly this time. Use your imprint. So now the carriage is acting as a tool for you to see what's going right or what's going wrong. Inhale to stay, and then exhale to roll back down again, one vertebra at a time, maintaining that nice symmetry all the way through. Perfect. All right, we're going to go into the single thigh stretch next. Now, what I'd like to do is show the modification of the exercise being done off to the side. So I think you should come off this side here, Wayne, for a moment, and I'll set the carriage up for you. So we'll actually have you demonstrated on that side, right over here. Everything's all set. There you go. So step right over. And normally it's done on top of the carriage, as you know, but I'm going to have him show it off the side. The reason I would do that is because if he were to come on and his hip was higher, so why don't we show it that way first? We'll show how the hip could go higher. So let's place one foot up. So if you're looking from behind as the instructor, what you may notice is the hip is hiked up right here, and you can see there's some tension in the body. And then when he were to push back, go ahead and push back, he's not able to lengthen out through here, which is what we would want, and his whole body looks like it's actually rotating or side bending. Go ahead and go back in again, and just do that one more time so we can get a good view of what's happening to the body when it's improper, right? So this is not going to be comfortable. He's not going to work the muscles properly and bring it back in, and he's going to be creating rotations or lateral flexions in unnecessary tension. So we take him off the carriage, off onto the side, and it will be a lot easier for us to monitor and to adjust his alignment. So place one foot in front and then the other foot here back at the shoulder rest. Now, if the heel doesn't touch, his does, but if you were tight here and it didn't touch, you still would send the energy through the heel. That would be a good cue for you, even if the client's not touching right here. So go ahead and press the carriage back by activating through the heel. The buttocks muscle is activating as you press back. Good, he's keeping a nice long spine here, and then bring the carriage all the way back in. Pushing right through the center of the heel, not collapsing in the hips, really keeping the activity happening right through the abdominals. Inhale, come back in again. Exhale and press through the back heel. What many clients will do is they'll press through the front leg rather than the back leg. So what I'd like you to do is show that, Wayne. Show how if you press through your front leg, the energy is totally changed in the exercise. The carriage, the resistance is not being pressed back with the proper muscles. Go ahead and bring it back in. And he's putting too much pressure in his knee joint on that other side. So let's do that properly again, pushing back through the center of the heel, feeling that nice stretch, keeping that nice alignment through the spine. All right, you can bring the carriage back in. And you can step off. So the side splits will be next. Take this down. And we'll just go to one spring. Now, there's two ways in which to do this. You have an option of just stepping up onto the platform and then onto the carriage. I'm going to use a sticky mat. And what would happen here is it's absolutely fine to do it here, but if you notice, he's already wider than hip distance. Therefore, the glute medius, the abductors are already active. So what I would prefer to do many times is to get them more neutral and the muscle not to already be contracted. So if you'd step off, Wayne, I'm going to show the platform extender. So rather, we put the platform extender there, and then we're able to put that right inside there, to have him step on the platform extender first and then up onto the carriage. And you'll notice now the distance of his hips is established as just hip distance apart. Good. Okay, so now he can actually go to the initial concentric contraction of the glute medius to press out. What I notice first off with people who are newer at this exercise is they push through their ankles so much that they actually roll outward. So just show that a little bit, Wayne, as you start to press out. Just feel that rolling out sensation. So you really want to cue, come back in again, that they don't roll the ankles, that they just press the legs or the feet sideways. So go ahead and press sideways through the feet without rolling and doing that proper. Other nice cues would be to actually keep the arches lifted, again, without rolling. So just keep action, feeling as though the arch is lifted. Go ahead and continue, and pressing out. Now, if they're not able to keep the pelvis neutral, you may have to have them put their hands right on their hips, because when you press out, go ahead and place your hands there, Wayne. When you press out, you don't want your pelvis to rock forward. Show a rocking forward action. You see that? And that's going to put too much tension in the lumbar spine. Go ahead and bring it back again. So we want to maintain neutral. So you want to cue, and sometimes having hands by the hips themselves gives them their own sense of awareness, especially again in a group environment. Go ahead and exhale, press out. Feel that hip work happening, not the ankles, okay? Inhale to bring it right back in again. Exhale, and then think of pressing sideways, press apart, maintaining that nice neutral alignment through the pelvis. Excellent. All right, Wayne, you can step off. Thank you very much. That was great. Okay, so we have done. I hope that you've found these cueing and modifications informative and useful, and that you now feel well equipped to put together tailor-made Stop Pilates workouts for your clients. Bye for now. Thank you.